What do Russian people think of Trump specifically?
It's you know, like in the okay, continue the question if you.
No, I mean if it's split. I'm not saying everyone thinks the same thing. I'm saying but just in detail.
Well, I mean the official position is that he's viewed like he's viewed as a good president for Russia, of course, like it's a good, but there is not much actual talk about him being like Putin's like a puppet figure. Like I know, like some people do, some people no. Like it's kind of the thing is over the last like 15 years, the discourse about America kind of went past this like who is the better president or worse president. Now, like the position is that whoever the president is, the general establishment acts like the like geopolitical actions of the establishment is not is influenced by the president only in very minor ways. So basically the policy towards Russia is always like Russia is an enemy regardless of who is the president. Like it's a little bit better, a little bit worse, but in general it's all the same. But Trump in general is viewed sympathetically,
Because if he's his puppet and then we do something that's bad to Russia, then it would be like, well, what
it's kind of
it'd make Putin look weak. It would make Putin look weak. I see that.
So the position is they're kind of good, like sort of like friend figures, like they understand each other, and Trump is generally like a trustworthy guy to us, but the establishment is much bigger than him. And they are actually viewing Trump as the American anti-establishment figure. I would like
draining the swamp.
He's fighting the deep state.
Deep state, yes.
Deep state, yeah. It was actually very funny because when I was doing my first Edinburgh show in 2017, and Trump had only recently been elected by then, and there were some material about that. And in Russia, at this point, this really was viewed as a huge victory. For some reason, a lot of political forces in Russia, like pro-government forces, they thought now America is gonna be much friendlier and we have much more collaboration. For example, I use this in my show. The Communist Party of Russia, which exists apparently, it still exists, but it's not really communist anymore. It's kind of pro-Putin, one of the pro-Putin, kind of a left pro-Putin party, and there is a right pro-Putin party. So basically, they're a left pro-Putin party. And when Trump was elected, they issued a statement saying Donald Trump's victory celebrates the defeat of the global financial and speculative capital. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what. That's exactly what.
Billionaire being elected. Yeah.
Yeah, we all know this, Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, Vladimir Lenin, and Donald Trump, the great communist leaders.
They love Trump. Marx would have loved Trump if he knew him.
And so, and then what's the view of Biden and Obama before him? I mean, is it just, again, it's just going to perpetuate? If Biden wins, is that seen as something really bad? Or not seen at all?
Yeah, as I said, in general, they're more sympathetic toward Trump and more sympathetic towards Republicans. But in general, nothing really changes. This is the view that is perpetuated now.
That's a reversal. I mean, it used to always be going back to this, the Cold War days, that the Democrats would be considered more sympathetic to Russia. And even going back toObama had a reset with Putin that I guess
Medvedev. I think it was mostly Medvedev who he was
yeah.
If you remember, this guy who was in office for 4 years.
Oh, yes. Right, the guy.
And during this time, this period is actually a lot of people of my generation view as a sort of thaw sort of period. Yeah, when Medvedev met Obama, they had burgers together, and in general in Russia, a lot of laws were kind of liberalized during this period. But then when Putin came back in 2012, it all started to kind of a lot of laws, which a lot of legislation was literally reversed. Medvedev 2 years ago said, okay, this is a great thing, let's very correct thing to do, 100% of the ruling party voted for it, and then Putin says, well, it actually didn't really work.
Can you walk us through quickly how the steps Putin has taken along the way? Did he come? He became the leader or president in '99. Is that correct?
Yeah, he was first. He was what's it called? Taking like the position because he was a prime minister, and then he was acting president because Yeltsin said like I'm too drunk to do it, and like I can't. So.
I got that right.
So he did it in '99, and then can you quickly just take us through the steps he's taken from '99 until now to stay in power?
Well, yeah, basically, it's now it's kind of he's already like not a man, but like the whole era, right? So now I think it's useful to talk like early Putin, like middle Putin, and like late.
He's
Putin,
reinvented
like
himself. His game.
The three Putins.
Yeah. The three,
he's
least
added
three.
to his game as a dictator. Yeah.
Like three for now.
Yeah.
And kind of Putin, which is Medvedev.
Right. Putin
kind
puppet.
of Putin. Yeah. So basically, like the first period when he just became president, he used a lot of like in ministerial, like in the cabinet of ministers, there were a lot of people who were kind of liberals, like economically, first of all, and like in the first few years, the first 4 years. They've done a lot of good work in terms of stabilizing the economy and, of course, like the high oil prices, but also they kind of modernized a lot of things like tax legislation and a lot of useful like economic reforms. But later, towards like 2007, there was this famous Munich speech of Putin when basically he said like it was his first like aggressive rhetoric towards the West. Yeah. So before that, he was kind of he even like at some point I think it was considered Russia joining NATO and stuff. So he was like liberal firstly, like in terms of relations with the West. Then didn't work out, and like he's done a lot to do it, of course, himself, because like he like on a deep level he really doesn't believe democracy exists. Like he really doesn't believe. That's kind of like a part of his like KGB mindset. Like he I mean this comes from many sources. He just doesn't like he honestly believes like this, like the protests in Belarus are like orchestrated by like American like agents, like in the event coming from the embassy and paying people money.
We're so amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, you're doing really well. I mean, like just one more. Can you like up the financing like 15% so then finally get rid of Lukashenko? Like
we're
working on it.
So
we did a podcast and then we didn't get into that, but yeah.
Ask for more money on Patreon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the thing is, like, that was the first period. Then, like, when Medvedev became the president, like, it was not even clear that Putin, like, at first it wasn't clear that Putin would come back. At the time, he looked like he would actually, like, if the system would work, he looked like he could have not come back, actually.
And that was 2008?
2008 to 2012. But then after like after the liberalization, there was this 2018, there was election which was rigged. The parliament election, it was rigged, and basically everybody knew it was rigged, and like all the like parties from the parliament who were already kind of pro-Putin, pro-government, they started kind of to become independent, like the Communist Party, and like there were a couple of other kind of in general pro-Putin parties, and they said, no, we don't agree with it. Let's go to a rally. Let's go to the street. So basically, the system kind of just started like liberalizing itself and like being more democratic as soon as he kind of loosened the grip. Yeah. So and there were huge protests, over like 100,000 people in Moscow, and I remember this really well.
What year was that in?
2011. And I remember it. I remember it was very interesting because, like, the first protest was actually like smaller. It was on the night of the election, like when everybody realized it was rigged, and because for like over a decade they hadn't been protests because the economy was growing, everything was kind of
right.
like
The oil prices were great that decade.
Yeah. And like there was the first rally, and I took part in it. And I was coming from like another city, not even from Moscow, like specifically like to take part. And it was amazing. It was like nobody really knew what to do. The protesters didn't know how to protest, and the police didn't know what to do as well. It's just like a lot of policemen just saying "Hey, chief, what do we do?" It's sort of the people kind of they're climbing over fences. Do we do what exactly?
Like you had, did you even know you were allowed? Did you assume you were going to be arrested when you got there, or you assumed you would be allowed to protest?
At this point, it was completely different time. No, we even though a few people I think were arrested, but they kind of released really soon. It was like the first protest when like Navalny started gaining popularity since then, the guy who was poisoned. And yeah, he kind of led this protest in 2018. So, 2011, yeah.